If you haven't seen this week's episode of Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episode 7, that is, please do that first and then come back to our video. This is your spoiler warning. For almost 2 seasons, we have been praising Michael Gandolfini for his acting in the show. Even though we won't be seeing him in Daredevil Born Again anymore, we do hope to see him in more outings. We will miss you, Daniel. Rest in peace. This is the review of champions, and I'm your host, Grandmaster. With me is a powerful panel made up of the finest champions Cigar has to offer. Let me introduce them to you. First up, we have voice only Lokismom. How are you?
Doing well.
That's good to hear. And on camera, we have Merv. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Yeah. Today we're going to talk about the episode 7, of course, about of the second season of Marvel Disney Plus show Daredevil Born Again. But before we do, I want to ask you all to help us out. Like and share this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you really can't get enough of us, and I can imagine you can't, you can join our ranks. Go to Sakar at sakar.freeforms.net, set up an account, and join the forum, join the conversation, get to know us, and join our shows. We would love it if you do that. Daniel, he has to choose to whom he will be loyal, and Karen has to suffer the agony of a show trial. I'm going to go with Loki's mom first because she's a big fan of Michael Gandolfini and the
hmm
character of Daniel Blake. It must have hurt you this episode.
Yes, it did. It really just broke my heart. We don't really see him declared dead yet, so there's a glimmer of hope. Maybe he's not dead, but I think he is. And I said last week I had confidence that Daniel would not ever would finally break with Kingpin, and he did, and he saved BB's life. And I'm sure this is going to devastate her when she finds out. But we'll probably see that next episode. But yeah, Daniel died a hero.
Uh,
Absolutely,
I agree. And we salute Michael Gandolfini, who portrayed him
absolutely,
excellently. So,
absolutely.
any quick thoughts on this week's episode
Yeah,
besides what we.
I really saw it as probably the strongest episode of the entire second season. It definitely, I think, the last two episodes have brought the level of the show up. We've complained about it, in the past, particularly I think the episode where it was just too much, just what's called filler, I guess, filler episode. So, but yeah, these last two, I think it's really gotten back on track as far as what the original Daredevil was in the first season, and I think we got one more episode to go, I believe, so it should be wrapping up. And also, we got to see Jessica again, so apparently she's playing a big part, maybe in the final episode also, because since her series is going forward, and it does look like Cherry's probably going to be on her team, so I hope we get to see Cherry again in her TV show. But yeah, overall, it was just a really good episode.
Murph, your quick thoughts on episode 7.
Yeah, R.I.P. Daniel. He was
Yeah.
fantastic in this episode. I thought a surprise strong point for me was pretty much Karen in general. I realized she's kind of the glue holding a lot of the things together in this episode, and every scene she was in was a good one for me. Um, yeah, I really like this episode. Obviously, the wheels are falling off for Kingpin, but he, like in classic villainous fashion, seems to want to take everyone down with him. So, it's going to make for a really interesting finale. I'm curious how much is this going to carry over into season 3 with only one episode left. So I'm curious to see where things go.
Yeah, no, I agree. I also I love that little scene where the governor was attacked by one of Kingpin's henchmen, and then Bullseye stepped in, saved the day, which was kind of odd to me, but okay. I also really enjoyed this episode, and I agree with you guys. This was by far the best episode of the season so far. And a particular highlight was for me was the fact that we got to see Matt Murdock in action in the courtroom, which was severely lacking in this whole show so far, since they rekindled it last year. Finally, we get to see him lawyer up, and I really enjoyed that. There's nothing wrong with a good courtroom drama. So, and in this case, maybe it's more like a show trial drama, but we will get into further details about that later. Murph, can I have your deep dive? Do you have any criticisms of this episode, or do you just want to, say how great it was?
I don't have that any real particular criticisms. The only one I will say is that um, Mr. Charles is a character that at the beginning of this season I had a lot of excitement for to see unwind. And thus far, he's kind of just been like an entertaining yet kind of normal like middleman in this government weapons arms deal, whatever, like an underling to Allegra de Fontaine or whatever her name was. Um, so I'm glad he was in this episode because he hasn't been in every episode. But in the same breath, it's like I was kind of hoping for a little more out of a character that made as interesting an introduction in this season as I thought that Matthew Lillard's Mr. Charles did for me. And there's still an episode, so maybe he'll end it on a ridiculously high note. And I like the ties of the character, but I will say that one has kind of thus far fallen a little short of my hopes and expectations.
You may even
Um,
call him the comic relief of the show.
yeah, and Matthew Lillard's great at that, but I guess I was kind of more intrigued by the character before I saw what it was. It's one of those kind of deals.
They did the
Uh,
worst thing they could do. They did not live up to your expectations.
and I set the bar high just by because when you cast somebody that's as popular right now as Matthew Lillard, I kind of I set my own bar high with expectations that this is going to be a kooky, crazy, off the wall character, and I do think that in brief glances it lives up to that. But as a season full of characters, now to get to a highlight, I will say that Heather is a character that I think has, even though she hasn't been in every episode either, she has lived up to a lot of my expectations as far as interesting as a character can be. And I think this episode also had a really strong Heather scene between her and Karen, where I'm like now I'm starting to think like, okay, well, we might get more of this. Like Heather is going to go off the wall and maybe she's going to try to kill Karen or something like that. And Daredevil's going to be in a weird spot where he either has to take down his former love interest to save his current love interest or some situation like that, because she is, every time they do the little camera tilt thing showing her like fading into this psychotic impulses that she has, I'm more and more interested by this character. I think it's really interesting the more they scratch the surface of her in her trauma after everything that happened in season one with her. So that's a
Mhm.
character I really love. And like I said already, Karen throughout this entire episode, I think had a lot of really strong scenes. Her in scene with Kingpin whenever he comes to see her in jail towards the beginning of the episode was pretty tense, and like you could easily see him. He already bear hugged a doctor to death in the last episode, so it wouldn't have taken much for him to just snap her neck. But somehow he reined it in. So that was good for her, but she was like, it felt like she was this close to just, you know, um, uh, and then her whenever she gets out like temporarily to talk to Daredevil in the alley, I thought that was a really good scene too. I think she had a lot to work with in this episode as a character, and I
Mhm.
was very happy to see Jessica Jones back, even if it was just for a scene or two. I was glad because I totally didn't expect to see her again this season. I thought that was going to be like a one and done little cameo thing, but
Mhm.
I was very happy to see that character back. and we understand the ties. Which, if you know the character in anything like that, it felt kind of obvious. But that Luke Cage is somehow wrapped up into the same stuff that everyone in the Thunderbolts is wrapped up into, which is probably doing odd jobs for Allegra somewhere, or Mr. Charles by proxy, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, he's probably wrapped up into
Hmm.
that mess. So maybe he'll show up in like a Thunderbolts 2 or whatever someday or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, very interesting.
Or Daredevil Born Again season 3, as we already
That
know.
too. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right on the horizon.
Loki's mom, do you have any criticisms of this week's episode?
No, not particular. I agree with Merv that Mr. Charles turned out to be a weenie. I really thought he was going to be the sort of the guy behind the scenes pulling strings. Really, he had the power over Kingpin, but no, that's not the case. But yeah, I think he's going to show up later down the road, and he's still an interesting character, just not what we expected him to be. Yeah, one little criticism I had was where, not necessarily the scene that Merv referenced, but when she goes behind the jailhouse to speak with Matt, and it's like, well, was that easy just going in there? Unlock that one cop, I guess, that he owed a favor or something, or was he came and let her out. So, of course, she couldn't run away. She has to go through that show trial because it's part of the trying to expose who Kingpin really is. One thing I did like was that we keep forgetting that this is not that the New York Police Department, the NYPD, the Boys in Blue, they are not part of Kingpin's horrible mess. They do seem to be inert or powerless against him, of course, but that was a great scene, I think, where they're trying to get the Matt and everybody out in that garage. That was a really good scene. And then, of course, Matt, he's just really to the breaking point because he goes into that church. Then he flees to the church. That's his little refuge, and he begins praying, and I wonder what he's praying to. But anyway, it's that's I'm not going to criticize the show on that part. But let's see other highlights. Yeah, I agree. I think the Karen. I think this was really her episode. It showcased her character and the actress's acting skills, and along with the actress who plays Heather. Really strong scenes between them, and yeah, she's psycho. She's going off the deep end, and I don't know what's going on with her and Kingpin because he found out that she had stolen that ruby earring, but then he he confronts her with it, but then he doesn't do it. Apparently, I don't know what he did to her or what he said to her, but she's even deeper on his side now. So I don't know. That's some kind of weird relationship I think is going to develop between them. And here again, I'll say one more time. I'll say I hate that we lost Michael Gandolfini to this to the storyline, but maybe his agent asked for too much money because that's usually why characters sometimes get killed off because of that. But yeah, hopefully we'll get to see him in other things. I absolutely think he's on the horizon to be a major star, if not on if not in movies, at least in television. So yeah, I really don't have a lot of complaints, and uh, I'm trying to think of anything else right offhand. No, I'm just like to say happy that Jessica Jones is back into it, and just looking forward to the final episode to see how this wraps up.
Yeah. Again, I still foresee a team up. Maybe even, you never know. Maybe we get Luke Cage in the final episode. You never
Well,
know.
yeah. Well, Mr. Charles did say that. He said, "Well, I know where I can contact Luke for you," or something to that effect. So yeah, that's a little
Yeah.
Easter egg, a little bonus coming up, hopefully.
Well, we have to wait and see. But I have a strong feeling next episode we will see the fall of Major Fisk, and
Yep.
because I think there was spoilers if you haven't seen the trailer for Spider-Man yet, but I think there was a shot where the advisor to the mayor, that that lady with the curls who took was giving the keys to the city, I think, to Spider-Man himself. So
Okay.
I think she was going to be the next mayor. So they kind of spoiled the end of Daredevil Born Again in the trailer for Spider-Man Brand New Day. And I also saw some set photos with a Lady Muse. Not gonna say anything, but that's what I saw. So there's something on the horizon for Heather, I think, as well. But before we spoil too much, sorry guys, I'm into the fandom sometimes. Let's do a rating for episode 7 of Daredevil Born Again season 2. And I'm going to start with you, Loki's mom.
I will give this episode a 9.
High marks from our grand old lady of the podcast.
Hmm.
Merv.
Yeah, I'll also good 9. This was a really solid episode, and that Lady Muse could be anyone. I mean, there's a
Yeah,
mask,
that's
so.
true. I'm going to join you guys. I'm also going to give this episode a 9 out of 10. It was by far the best episode of the season. I hope the next episode will blow me away. But yeah, Marvel finales of shows, they tend to disappoint. But maybe not this time. You never know. That will conclude our review for Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episode 7. We hope you have enjoyed our discussion today. If you did, help us out. Like, share, subscribe, and join our forum at soccer.freeforms.net. We would love it if you do that. Next week, we will be back to discuss Episode 9, of course. Or 8, I should say. Episode 8. It's the season finale. For more Marvel content, you can check out our latest episode in our Infinity Saga Legacy series. Sorry, my English is not on point today. You can also check out our review series for Maul Shadowlord as well. For now, I want to thank you all also on behalf of my fellow champions, Merv and Lokismom, and wish you to be safe and be well. Bye.